There's been a ton of talk all summer long about Portland, as the Blazers have finally moved on from Damian Lillard and are looking to hand the keys to their first-round draft selection in Scoot Henderson. Alongside Scoot, they have a promising young talent on the rise in Shaedon Sharpe, as well as the former #1 overall selection in DeAndre Ayton, who looks refreshed and is looking to live up to the dominating nickname that he coined for himself. Those three players alone, I believe, are plenty to be excited about for the future of the Blazers. But one player that should be garnering way more excitement is Anfernee Simons. Simons is on the second year of his 4-year deal with Portland and is now heading into his 6th season in the NBA. People around the league are simply not talking enough about him, as he now has a huge opportunity ahead of himself since Damian Lillard has departed. Simons had a really solid year last year, 21 points a game, 4 assists, and just below 3 rebounds a game, while shooting just below 45% from the field, just about 38% from 3, and 89% from the free throw line, all while playing as the secondary guard alongside Damian Lillard. Heading into the preseason, I was curious to see how the lineup would shake out, but it appears that Simon and Scoot will be the starting lineup for Portland to start the season, with Sharpe being in and out of the starting 5. Simons had a really great preseason. In his 3 games played, he averaged about 19 points a game, just below 2 assists on some extremely efficient shooting splits in about 21 minutes per game. In today's video, we're going to break down some preseason film for Anfernee Simons, and we're also going to display what he can provide for Portland as the potential lead guard for the upcoming season. One of Anfernee's biggest strengths as a scorer is his 3-point shooting. Simons is an extremely impressive shooter, and he will help fill the void that Damian Lillard has left behind. Simons has the ability to shoot very effectively both on and off the ball. Last season, Simons shot 39.2% from 3 in catch-and-shoot situations and 35.5% from 3 in pull-up shooting situations. Just over half of his shots last year from the 3-point line came off of the catch, while about 47% of his threes were off the dribble. In the NBA last year, there were only 7 players in the league that attempted 9 or more threes per game, and Simons was one of those 7. He had the 4th best 3-point percentage of those 7 players at 37.7%. With Simons being such a lethal 3-point shooter in a variety of situations, this provides a lot of offensive gravity and it will be extremely helpful for everyone on the floor, but in particular for his backcourt mate in Scoot Henderson. Having a reliable shooter alongside Scoot will make his life easier as both a scorer and a playmaker. Simons reminds me of Dame at times with plays like these. With the shot clock winding down, you can give the ball to Simons and you will know you'll always have a good shot at getting a bucket, especially if he has a big switch onto him. On this possession, Lauri switches on to Simons and is on an island on the left wing. Simons rocks Lauri to sleep, and when he drives right, Lauri's instinct is to drop back instead of slide his feet, which is common for big men. Simons recognizes this right away, and he quickly steps back and is able to nail the mid-range jumper. Because he's such a great shooter, this gives Simons so much potential as an effective scorer in pick-and-roll situations. When defenses realize that Simons can make shots like this in his sleep, they have to switch up the pick-and-roll coverage, and this allows Simons to flourish. One of the most common pick-and-roll coverages for big men is called drop coverage. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's when the big man drops back to anticipate the speed of the guard coming off of a screen, so the big can keep himself between the ball handler and the rim. The issue with drop coverage is that with a good screen from a big man, it allows the opposing players to waltz into wide open jumpers. A player like Anfernee Simons will always punish that defensive scheme. On this play, Simons does a really good job of attacking Walker Kessler, one of the league's best interior defenders. Anfernee uses his speed to beat Kessler to the spot and puts a shot off the glass where no one else can get it. This time down, Simons finds his former teammate Nurkic in space coming off of the screen. Nurkic makes the mistake of trying to slide his feet to keep up with Simons, but he stands no chance. This is the caveat when you're trying to cover Simons in the pick and roll. If you drop, you give up the jumper. If you don't, you give up the lane. What will make Simons a complete offensive weapon in the pick and roll is the development of his playmaking. I would consider Simons a pretty solid playmaker, but he just hasn't had the full-time reps since he was playing alongside Damian Lillard. By the way, if you're still here, you might as well subscribe to the channel and like the video. There are multiple reads you can make out of pick and roll situations as the ball handler. One of the initial reads for the ball handler is to identify the man setting you a screen. Nurkic rolls after the screen, and Simon does a good job of getting him the ball on the bounce as he dives to the rim. This time around, Simons will come off the screen, and this big man is going to pop instead of roll. Bigs can sometimes pop all the way to the three-point line, but in this play, Eubanks flashes to the free throw line. The most important aspect of any pick and roll situation is if the ball handler can occupy attention. When Simons comes off of the screen, you see Tobias is chasing him, and Embiid is watching him in drop coverage. In this situation, both of these defenders have their attention occupied by Simons, while Eubanks is no longer in sight. The longer that Simons can occupy this attention, the easier the opportunity will be for the big man. If the man setting the screen for the ball handler has no real opportunity to roll or pop, this is where the reads start to open up for the rest of the floor. Simons on this play receives a high screen, which takes both his man and the screener's man out of position where they no longer affect the play. Simons is now diving to the rim, which means an additional helper needs to come. This has now created a 2-on-1 situation where the extra helper needs to make a decision. For Simons, this becomes a read and react situation. On this play, the extra helper comes up too high, and Eubanks identifies that on the baseline, so he cuts, allowing Simons to throw him the lob. In a situation where the helper doesn't come up too high and he sticks to his man on the baseline, Simons will get a clean look at the rim. One of the final reads a ball handler can make is identifying the open shooter after collapsing the defense. Anfernee comes off of the screen and goes straight to the rim with the big man on his hip. Simons identifies that Malik Monk has cheated way too far over off of his man. That means that someone is open for a three. Simon makes an incredibly difficult pass look really easy as he hits sharp for the open three in the corner. There are plenty of other playmaking situations for players coming off of screens, but these are going to be the most typical situations you'll see during a game. Because Simons is such a complete player on offense, this makes him a nightmare to cover in transition whether he has the ball or not. These type of scoring opportunities just makes a guard's life so much easier. It can be really hard to get the shots that you want against a set half-court defense, but when a team is scrambling in transition, it's extremely difficult for the defense to keep track of the opposing offense, especially if they're down a man when they're scrambling. When scorers get the opportunities to get easy buckets like this, it could get them going for the rest of the game. In 11 games last season without Damian Lillard playing, Simons was absolutely electric. Just below 28 points a game, 5.7 assists, and about 3 rebounds a game, while shooting 46% from the field, 41% from 3, and 94% from the line, featuring 5 30-point games and a career-high 45-point game in that 11-game stretch. While everyone should be excited for Scoot, I'm extremely excited to see what Simons can do with more opportunities as the lead guard. If I'm any contender looking to find the piece to put them over the top, I'm definitely calling Portland about Anfernee Simons. The NBA season is finally here, and I cannot be more excited to see how this year unfolds. With the preseason finally being over, make sure you check out one of my videos where I got a chance to talk about some of the young players that really impressed me.